And good morning to our dear viewer who always chooses to wake up with us here on Good Morning Uganda. And well, there are very many developments coming in from Uganda. The most shocking one and interesting one on my side has been the by-election in Kawempe North. And the political party where the late Honorable Muhammad Sejirinya was subscribing to has so far had 12 candidates who want to stand in and compete. But of course, out of the 12, the political party will only give a card to one person who will be standing in for the general by-elections. And also from the party, it shows that out of the 12, initially, there were 4 people who had presented their credentials and documents. However, by close of business yesterday, 7 more people were added onto the first 4. And then out of the 12 in general, 4 of them do not have the required documents. So they have to submit in those documents by today, midday. So it is surprising because when I first got to look into the story, I thought the 12 are coming in from other political parties and independents, so to say. But surprisingly, all these 12 are vying for one political card to go in and stand to see whether they stand the chance of, you know, being the member of parliament for just 1 year left.
No, maybe they are looking at it in the sense of one, you get in now, and that guarantees your win in the coming elections. Yes, in 2026. But Jerome, and I'll ask you, does this give you any comfort? Seeing all these people vying for one position, do you think they are vying to serve the people of Kawempe North, or they are vying to change our national motto to "For God and my stomach"? Well,
it will go both ways. Why? There are those that have intentions of serving. But however, with the current situation that we are in, let's be honest, you realize that 12 people vying for a spot for just 12 more months left clearly shows other signs. It clearly shows, one, there is some element of personal interest, which we cannot, of course, hide away from. And then there is also the element of, okay, serving the people of Kawempe North. But again, we only wait to see what they have to present before their manifestos. Someone may tell you, I will be able to work for you. I also heard somewhere where someone said that he will be giving 200,000 to expectant mothers, and I was very shocked because we are past the politics of lying to people in broad daylight like that.
Well, people are gullible when it comes to politics, I'll tell you that, because if it wasn't for that, why would we have the kind of members of parliament we have today? It shows that Ugandans, to some degree, some of them sometimes do not exercise a lot of their minds when they're choosing their leaders. But anyway, we have Robert Chirabonyonyitono in Studio B. Good morning, Robert. How are you?
I'm very, very fine. It is yet another day the Lord has given us, and we are very grateful for you who is watching us, and of course for the gift of life. Now, Sonko talks about the number of people who are vying for that seat. Nominations kicked off yesterday, and we hope, which is also the fact, by closure of nominations likely today, they will have one flag bearer of the National Unity Platform. Now, one of the most paying and cherishable jobs in Uganda today is being a member of parliament. There are so many benefits when one becomes a member of parliament. Apart from the honor you get as honorable, that also is subject to courts, but the allowances, all that comes along. Now, if you're on some commission or your party president appoints you to maybe LOP or shadow, so there is so much. Any Ugandan, I must say, would crave to be a member of parliament. The loan schemes there, the parliamentary circle. So that is something that now, because we've commercialized, let me tell you, if a member of parliament was earning as a teacher earns, you wouldn't see these much numbers turn up. But the first thing is the money. Commercialization of politics has made it one of the most paying jobs. But I want to draw your attention to yesterday on issues of health, where the Ministry of Health came out and announced that yes, 2 more cases of Ebola Sudan virus have been confirmed in Uganda. Remember last week, I think it was Thursday, Dr. Jane Ruth Chen, the Minister for Health, came out and said, yes, we had confirmed one case of a 32-year-old nurse at Mulago Hospital who succumbed to Ebola Sudan virus. Now, they took samples of the isolated people, about 200 something. But yesterday it was confirmed that 2 more cases. So what does this mean? Schools are opening up. We have mpox around with us. And now here we are with Ebola Sudan. 2 more cases. It's not very good news, and it calls for us, I think, to go back to the vigilancy of the standard operating procedures as washing hands regularly, social distancing, if possible, avoid crowded places unless you must be there. So I think it's time we go back and really know that we have an enemy with us, and we should ensure that we do not have these cases fast-stretched to weaken our systems. Who knows? Maybe even to call for certain stringent measures like lockdowns or stringent measures that curfew, all those things. So we must ensure that we do not go to that red line, and support us Ugandans to remember that there are things we can do. Sanitizers, for example. Remember those days Olive had over how many sanitizers. People had all sorts of, you know, but I don't remember when I last saw anyone in a handbag moving with a sanitizer like it was.
And I will throw that question back to you, Robert. Do you move around with yours? Because we shouldn't wait for times to become hard for us to be prepared. Anyway, I don't know if you gentlemen have seen some of the footages that have been being shared on social media of how bad mpox affects people. It's rather dire. So Ugandans, this is not even a scare campaign. Mpox is with us. Many people have been there. Of course, what do we call those facilities where they put separate people that are affected, like we used to in COVID-19? Yes. So most of them are there in grade B and Entebbe, but it's important for you to ensure that you protect yourself and avoid crowded places like Robert did share with us. But let's have a look at the news on the local scene.
Well, we begin with the Prime Minister, Robin Nabanja, who has advised Ugandans to avoid voting leaders basing on anger. Now, Nabanja said in 2021 elections, the people of Budu in Greater Masaka sub-region elected or voted when hungry, which led to electing representatives who cannot comfortably collaborate with the central government for timely service delivery. The Prime Minister was delivering a lecture on opportunities at a workshop for leaders from the districts in Masaka region organized by UPDF at Sacred Heart Kyamusansala School in Kalungu district as part of the ongoing Tere Sita celebrations. Nabanja advised the people to stop lamenting and vote for President Museveni and the NRM government in the next election. The 44th Tere Sita anniversary celebration is being celebrated in Greater Masaka under the theme Celebrating Pan-African Solidarity and the People's Sacrifice in the Struggle for Freedom and Democracy for Socio-Economic Transformation. The event is featuring activities across districts of Bukoma, Nsimbi, Karangara, Chotera, Masaka City, and will culminate into Chotera district on February 6th this very year. This annual event, organized by the government and the UPDF, aims to honor the spirit of community partnership and Pan-African solidarity.
And away from that, Ugandans have been told to desist from the mentality of doubting disease outbreaks, as this could make it difficult for government to respond to epidemics. The Director, Public Health at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Daniel Chabaize, blames such mentality on some political players, something he says is dangerous to the health of many Ugandans. Now, he sounded this while flagging off a consignment of testing kits from Microhim Scientifics and medical supplies in Tinda to national medical stores. The last time Uganda was declared free from Ebola virus was in January 2023, and 2 years later, the epidemic is back, creating tension among the public, authorities, and the health sector. Now, the outbreak is being doubted by some sections of the public, which disturbs health experts, and this is being partly blamed on individuals seeking political capital. Dr. Kabayinza sounded the warning as he flagged off a consignment of health testing kits manufactured by the Microhim Scientifics and Medical Supplies. And these testing kits will cater for malaria, sickle cell, and HIV/AIDS.
Police have warned school administrators on students' indiscipline of smuggling dangerous substances into schools. The police spokesperson, while releasing the security advisory to education stakeholders at the beginning of the academic term, hinted on students' habits of drug abuse, among others. As 2025 academic year commenced yesterday, police released a security advisory to education stakeholders hinting on safety of learners. Police spokesperson urged school managers to revise school security measures and emphasize screening of learners' belongings to curb smuggling of drugs and other prohibited objects and substances. Police wants financial institutions to establish robust mechanisms of dealing with unscrupulous people who always stage at banks with the intentions of extorting from vulnerable people. Adopting of digital form of paying school fees is recommended. While police have reported increased cases of fraudsters and hackers targeting WhatsApp accounts, these forms cyber threats has had their consequences to the victims. Cyber threats pose a significant challenge in Uganda's digital transformation agenda, particularly due to inadequate digital literacy.
And then lastly, from our local news, primary and secondary schools have officially reopened, with parents urging government to take issues of regulating school fees for the schools. The parents wondered why some primary and secondary schools are more expensive than universities or other higher institutions of learning. And among some of the schools that our UBC reporters visited to assess the turn-up of pupils and students, some of the parents, especially in secondary schools, decried of the fact that schools are charging up to 3 million shillings per term, higher than most universities in the country. And they believe government's intervention to regulate school fees could help the underprivileged in society afford education, especially in urban areas. And when you look at Uganda Matters High School in Rubaga, the students' turn-up was high, with the students saying they have come more prepared to excel in academics, starting with the beginning of term exams. And then the head of academics at the Uganda Matters High School in Rubaga revealed that their focus will be on implementing the new competence-based curriculum. Now, Macario advised parents to take education for their children seriously, as it is the best gift to them.
Well, with that, we come to the end of our local news, but now let's look at what we have on the international scene, where Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 30-day suspension on U.S. tariffs after agreements were reached on border security. The Mexican and Canadian leaders agreed to send thousands of police to their borders with the U.S. to fight drug trafficking and undocumented migration. The Trump administration locked U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, workers out of their headquarters in downtown Washington, D.C. on Monday as it moved to close the agency. Democratic Party lawmakers have questioned the legality of billionaire Elon Musk's role in sweeping changes at key U.S. federal government bodies, including Treasury and the USAID. A judge in Washington, D.C. has extended an order opposing Trump's plan to freeze potentially trillions in U.S. federal government spending. Moving on, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was in Washington on Monday for talks with the new Trump administration on a second phase of the truce with Hamas, which has not yet been finalized. Just over 2 weeks after the ceasefire took hold, two Hamas officials said the group was ready to begin talks on the details of a second phase, which could help secure a lasting cessation of violence. Before leaving Israel, Netanyahu told reporters he would discuss victory over Hamas, countering Iran, and freeing all hostages when he met U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday. Media outlet Axios on Monday said that Netanyahu will extend his visit and return to Israel on Saturday. It will be Trump's first meeting with a foreign leader since returning to the White House in January, a prioritization Netanyahu said showed the strength of the Israeli-American alliance. With fragile ceasefires holding in both Gaza and Lebanon, where an Israeli campaign badly weakened Iran-backed Hezbollah, Israel has turned its focus to occupied West Bank and an operation that it says is aimed at rooting out extremism that has killed dozens. In more news, the alliance of rebel groups in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has declared a humanitarian ceasefire starting on Tuesday. In a statement, the group, which includes the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels, cited humanitarian reasons for the ceasefire after it has been capturing territory in eastern parts of the country. The UN said at least 900 people have been killed and 2,880 injured in recent fighting in and around Goma, DR Congo's largest eastern city, after it was seized by the rebels. The G7 nations and the EU have condemned the offensive as a flagrant violation of Democratic Republic of Congo's sovereignty. The alliance of rebel groups, known as the Congo River Alliance, has accused the Congolese military of killing people using aircrafts to bomb areas it holds. It added it does not intend to seize any further territory, despite saying otherwise last week, and it will hold its positions. In a statement, the alliance said, and I quote, "We reiterate our commitment to protecting and defending the civilian population and our positions," end quote. Regional fighting has seen hundreds of thousands of people displaced over the last 3 years. Since the start of 2025, more than 400,000 people have been forced from their homes, according to the UN's refugee agency. Well, now let's have a look at the press.
Well, according to the New Vision, new A-level syllabus changes are out. Find details. As the New Vision writes, this Tuesday, the 4th of February, biology has had some of the biggest changes according to new developments. Then the Army Court, details of Chief Justice judgment. Find that in the New Vision. Now, unemployment, Museveni to start circles for graduates, according to the New Vision. And then in the Teen Vision, suicide scare, crisis hiding in plain sight. And find details in that report today. Then opinion, Kinshasa must talk to M23, says Andrew Mwenda. Then in matters relationships, Deputy IGG asks married women to be submissive. And then boxing, Kabagambe wins gold in national championships. And there is a pictorial of the beat of the action from the National Boxing Championship. Then, away from the New Vision, the Daily Monitor, justice delayed is the bigger question. Rule of law on the line. Now, despite a landmark ruling by the Supreme Court that civilians should not appear before the General Court-Martial, politician Kizza Besigye and his aide Obed Lutale remain behind bars. And then also, in between the lines, you can see some quotes from Frank Baine, the spokesperson of the Uganda Prison Service. He's responding to why the delay. He says that, but the petitioner was not the Uganda Prison Service. The petitioner was the Attorney General. And I saw in the media that he said he was going to convene a session with his team and advised accordingly. We are waiting for the Attorney General. Then why the delay also? Charles Ouma, Deputy Solicitor General, says one thing I can assure you is that the Attorney General rather wants to resolve the matter once and for all. On Friday, we worked until late. Unfortunately, there was only one judgment out and we agreed that we wait for the rest. Indeed, we are done with the brief to the Attorney General. What is left is his own personal review and sign off. Now you will also see at the front page the opposition politician Kizza Besigye at the General Court-Martial in December. Now, in matters, Rainbow Magazine, learning and fun at Kisakate 2025 meeting. Find more there. Now, in Kenya, the Daily Nation writes, inside Ruto's policy U-turns, matters governance, HELB releases upkeep cash to university students who had stormed city offices. Now, some of the setbacks, as highlighted by the Daily Nation, help the state results to help to release upkeep cash to students to avert a crisis after new funding model was blocked by the courts. Then hospitals had to revert to the deficient NHIF system and even go manual to process claims until a new system provider was brought on board. Then e-citizen. Officials have struggled to enforce the single payment platform for government services because of delays to verify payments. And then probe reveals big mess at Afya House. 1,000 medical students at Kenyatta National Hospital paid by counties, but who can HA can't account for? That is also in there. Then there's a bigger headline at the top which says how Shabab abducted 5 chiefs in Mandera. Then in matters sport, party after party, Ghana's eye red scalp after city job. Then Mbadi, the fierce critic turned defender of Rutonomics, they say, the Daily Nation. Now, the DRC crisis, Tanzania to host joint EAC SADC meeting, and they move signals a new step to try and find common ground on the crisis caused by a war between M23 rebels and the Congolese army. Then lastly, from the press review, the Citizen from Tanzania. Tanzania is the second biggest maize producer in Africa. It has now overtaken Nigeria to become Africa's second largest maize producer with an output of 11.7 million tons in the 2023-2024 season, according to the data from the Ministry of Tanzania's agricultural sector. Now, Gate Foundation launches maternal health gains. And then in matters international relations, Trump threatens to cut U.S. aid to South Africa as Samia hits at demigods in delivery of justice. Also, what sharp drop in NPL levels means for Tanzania and its people. And that does it for our press review this Tuesday.
Now on this Tuesday, the inspiration song for the day is Locked Away by RCT featuring Adam Levine. Enjoy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
And hopefully everything is going fine your end. Yesterday, we did have a conversation regarding the suspension of aid and how it is affecting Ugandans that are living positively with HIV/AIDS. Now, in a new development, the President of the United States did order for the closure of the U.S. aid. As we speak, workers at the U.S. aid in the United States were locked out of their offices and they were locked out of their official emails. So when it comes to that, it shows that even down here and across Africa and all over the world where the USAID has been active, now they're out of business. According to Elon Musk, the world's richest man, he said that they discussed with President Donald Trump and agreed that they should close the US aid. How is that affecting the livelihoods of many people, especially here in Uganda, that worked for the US aid? But most importantly, how is it affecting the lives of people that were benefiting from the efforts of the US aid? So many questions, very few answers. But welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma and I am with Jerome Paul Sonko, looking rather, the word has failed, but we shall overcome. Good morning, Jerome.
Good morning, Olive, and good morning to our dear viewer who always chooses to wake up with us here on Good Morning Uganda. And, well, there are very many developments coming in from Uganda. The most shocking one and interesting one on my side has been the by-election in Kawempe North. And the political party where the late Honorable Muhammad Sejirinya was subscribing to has so far had 12 candidates who want to stand in and compete. But of course, out of the 12, the political party will only give a card to one person who will be standing in for the general by-elections. And also from the party, it shows that out of the 12, initially, there were 4 people who had presented their credentials and documents. However, by close of business yesterday, 7 more people were added onto the first 4. And then out of the 12 in general, 4 of them do not have the required documents. So they have to submit in those documents by today, midday. So it is surprising because when I first got to look into the story, I thought the 12 are coming in from other political parties and independents, so to say. But surprisingly, all these 12 are vying for one political card to go in and stand to see whether they stand the chance of, you know, being the member of parliament for just 1 year left.
No, maybe they are looking at it in the sense of one you get in now, and that guarantees your win in the coming elections. Yes, in 2026. But Jerome, and I'll ask you, does this give you any comfort? Seeing all these people vying for one position, do you think they are vying to serve the people of Kawempe North, or they are vying to change our national motto to "For God and my stomach"?
Well, it will go both ways. Why? There are those that have intentions of serving. But however, with the current situation that we are in, let's be honest, you realize that 12 people vying for a spot for just 12 more months left clearly shows other signs. It clearly shows, one, there is some element of personal interest, which we cannot, of course, hide away from. And then there is also the element of, okay, serving the people of Kawempe North. But again, we only want you to see what they have to present before their manifestos. Someone may tell you, I will be able to work for you. I also heard somewhere where someone said that he will be giving 200,000 to expectant mothers, and I was very shocked because we are past the politics of lying to people in broad daylight like that.
Well, people are gullible when it comes to politics, I'll tell you that, because if it wasn't for that, why would we have the kind of members of parliament we have today? It shows that Ugandans, to some degree, some of them sometimes do not exercise a lot of their minds when they're choosing their leaders. But anyway, we have Robert Chirabonyonyitono in Studio B. Good morning, Robert. How are you?
I'm very, very fine. It is yet another day the Lord has given us, and we are very grateful for you who is watching us, and of course for the gift of life. Now, Sonko talks about the number of people who are vying for that seat. Nominations kicked off yesterday, and we hope, which is also the fact, by closure of nominations likely today, they will have one flag bearer of the National Unity Platform. Now, one of the most paying and cherishable jobs in Uganda today is being a member of parliament. There are so many benefits when one becomes a member of parliament. Apart from the honor you get as honorable, that also is subject to quotes, but the allowances, all that comes along. Now, if you're on some commission or your party president appoints you to maybe law or shadow, so there is so much. Any Ugandan, I must say, would crave to be a member of parliament. The loan schemes there, the parliamentary circle. So that is something that now, because we've commercialized, let me tell you, if a member of parliament was earning as a teacher earns, you wouldn't see these much numbers turn up. But the first thing is the money. Commercialization of politics has made it one of the most paying jobs. But I want to draw your attention to yesterday on issues of health, where the Ministry of Health came out and announced that yes, 2 more cases.
Itwe twakora magoba gukugira ngo tugureho poroti twagigura twareba ngo kugura poroti tukombe kate kuja kututahiza juba nko kutwakubire tuine business endijo twatunga entase ya bulizoba tuine hibiscus juice twakora wine twakora liquid soap twakora habo jelly ezo zabentasya zeitu nkabantu tuine na millet flour ebyona ebikutahiza ekitebe eki nokoma kubaga kurugamu omulye bitwamara kutunda twagumiza mu ntombeka poroti yaitu eyekibina ahabwe emyoga so kindi kugambira nti emyoga niyo yatukozesize ebi etakizire tukaba sitine sente tukasitakagizire na kiroto cyo kugira ngo tushubure nk'abanyakibiina enju hatukinjire tushakire tukinjire commercial business kandi tukyayombeka nikwe bino nibiguma nibireeta sente nibizaara sente nitubaganaho nitwe nk'abanyakitebe nitusevingaho mu kitebe kitu kandi nitugumizamu n'okukora development y'ekibiina so value addition ekatuyamba munonga ahabw'okuba ekatwongera sente twayongera amaani ahabw'emyoga ebitookye byabiire nibidiba twatandika kubikoramu wine kyatuyamba omwanya gw'okugira ngu tubitemu atemere ente n'embuzi twabikoramu wine ecupa emwe ya wine ntituguze emitwaro 2 kandi ekidomora kya wine ntituguze emitwaro 6 hibiscus juice tuguze akadomora kuruga hariti emwe kugarukira hariti 5 nero waringa pressure na sukali netambe ekigaro nk'emyoga.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it's time for our newsreel. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, right with Jerome Paul Sonko and Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono. Now, police has warned school administrators on students' indiscipline of smuggling dangerous substances into schools. But also there is warning regarding the outbreak of disease that we have on the horizon. We have confirmed cases of Ebola in the country, and we also have an ongoing outbreak of mpox within Uganda. We have cases in Kampala metropolitan, but also cases across the nation. So now, with all these breakouts that we are experiencing as a country right now, it begs for the question, how can we ensure safety of students and pupils while at school amidst the rising cases of diseases like mpox and also Ebola? We must remember that these diseases can affect both young and old, and they can kill both young and old. So we need to safeguard ourselves and ensure that our students, our pupils, our children are safe in the schools where they go. Some commute from home to school and others are in boarding sections. So how do we ensure their safety? Well, I will go to Studio B, where Robert Chirabo is, and that's where we'll start the conversation. First of all, Robert, let's paint an even clear picture of what it looks like right now regarding the disease outbreaks in the country.
Well, thank you so much, Olive. One must say that the situation is not at the worst, but neither is it good. Why am I saying so? Now, when you talk about mpox, statistics show us that we've lost over 10 people. Mpox, the treatment center, is at Entebbe Referral Hospital. Now, there are over 100 people who are there. So that is a threat already. When it comes to Kampala Metropolitan, you have over, when you look at contacts of those people and the people, you have the majority in the isolation centers. Now, another problem was Thursday when we had the doctor and the Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Aceng, confirming to us Sudan, Ebola Sudan virus that had even claimed a life already. Now, as of yesterday, the PRO Ministry of Health, Emmanuel Ainebiona, came out and said now 2 more cases have been confirmed and over 200 people, or we call them contacts, are being screened and followed up to see the outcomes. And definitely we are waiting to see the results of these contacts of the index. Now, given that these are diseases that don't need congestion, because congestion is what eases or acts as a catalyst to their spread. Now, talk about our schools. Between you and me, we know very well that most of our schools are congested. I don't know a school where you have a dormitory that each child has a room of his own. They could be cubicles, but so they sleep on double deckers, some still sleep on triple deckers. They do life together. I don't know a school where one would say that there is so much of social distancing. That's why when COVID broke out, His Excellency, one of the first things he closed was schools. Now we are reopening amidst mpox, where learners are coming from home, where people could be infected. And remember, mpox takes time, about 14 days, some 21 days for this person to have the rash and be able to spread. So someone can leave home very normal. But when they come in school, the incubation period is over, and now you begin to see the signs and symptoms, and they are spreading. Talk about Ebola. It could be a quicker in terms of reaction. But still, someone can join school with no sign, with no symptom, when it is still in the incubation period, and once they are at school. Now, bad enough to say is, I've not seen any school. I was looking at different medias in Uganda here, TV stations, covering the opening of schools. But I didn't see a school that was so serious with SOPs, where I would see a temperature gun, because at least that is one thing very easy. We detect you have a fever. I didn't see schools where I would see hand washing facilities, or a school among those that were covered where I would see a bottle of sanitizer. Now, schools have reopened without having that in mind, that we have an enemy with us. We have mpox, we have Ebola, Sudan virus with us. So the situation is not any good, more so when we open up with these schools. We could have minimal numbers.
Now, Robert, in about a year or two ago, we had an outbreak of Ebola in Mubende and surrounding districts. How did this affect the operations of schools in those districts?
If you remember those particular districts, at a certain point, school was halted because they wanted to fight congestion. And it was clear that for the good, and you still remember, even in those districts, at a certain time, they went under a temporary lockdown. Because I remember I had a friend who was coming from Benda, and he was very clear. He said, we cannot cross, because they wanted to contain the situation. Because what governments do, sometimes they are forced to contain the situation and come up with stringent measures. Because once you have huge outbreaks, believe you me, your health system is going to be stretched. You have the mpox treatment center in Entebbe. Now, yesterday we were told they have opened up that of Ebola in Mulago. So all these diseases, one, are very complicated to treat. They are treatable if detected early, but they are complicated to treat. They are very expensive to treat. So if we do not contain, if we do not reduce, definitely, no doubt about it, it's going to affect the education system. Just think of a school where a case is confirmed, Olive. You know, your child is in a particular school and samples are taken and it is confirmed. Now they have to get the contacts. It is very hard to get contacts of a child in a school, because in one day a child can play, I don't know with how many, or be in contact with how many. So are you going to bring all those contacts to the isolation center and follow them up? It will be definitely hard. Second, I don't know, for some reasons, we have some schools that will conceal this information because they will not look at the health aspect, but due to commercialization of education, they will look at what does it mean to my school at such a time. Some schools operate on loans. Now, if we have a child with suspect of Ebola, we have a child with suspect of mpox, and you know when samples come out, the ministry will definitely go to the public and tell people there is an outbreak in schools, such a school, and what is happening, we have now maybe this number of children. So this concealment of information for the protection of the name and the business of the school is something I'm also very much scared about.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Now, Jerome, we know that there are many reported cases of poor hygiene in different schools. Yes, looking at Mpox and looking at Ebola, but also looking at the general health of students. Do you, in your own opinion, think that this is the time school owners, officials must now prioritize issues to do with sanitation?
Well, they are supposed to prioritize it, whether we're even in these issues or the outbreaks or not. However, the unfortunate bit is that many schools do not. Why do I say so? Many schools do have sanitation-related literature. That is, when you move into the compound, you will see a poster, you need to be clean, wash your hands. But when you take time to monitor and see how everything is done in school, you realize sometimes it's just for formality. Where you have a school having, let's say, a water can next to the latrines or the washrooms, and you'll be shocked that there is no water. And in most cases, students are even punished when they do not put water inside there, meaning the school wants the students, which is also good because you have to make sure that the students be part of this and take their health as priority. But however, as a school, you have to make sure that this is implemented day in, day out. And then also on the side of the sanitation, I also remember during the time of the post-COVID, where schools were putting out guidelines, students were supposed to do the social distancing. However, many of the schools were just doing this because they knew supervisors from the Ministry of Education will be coming through, or even supervisors from the Ministry of Health will be coming through, putting their licenses at risk. So many of the schools today are doing a number of these things, not because they are prioritizing the health, but because they are just doing it because it is, let's say, what the Ministry of Health has said, the police has said, we do not want students to come in with any given substance. It is on a few occasions where you have schools that are ensuring that the safety of students, especially when it comes to sanitation, is prioritized. And I say this because I've been through the education system, and still I'll stand to be corrected if at all I am wrong with my observation, because there are schools that will shock you if you happen to go there today. That, remember, we've been having a very huge, we've had a very long holiday break of 2 months. So you will expect there are some changes when it comes to, let's say, the bathrooms of the students, the dormitories. But many of the schools only get to do the maintenance works when students are back or when the pupils are back. And of course, the argument will be maybe they didn't have the money to do the maintenance work, so here and there. And then at times, many also do the last preparations. And you know, it's more like a Ugandan thing where we only do certain things because we are late, or it is because the school is resuming tomorrow, is when you will find the school administration doing some paintings. You'll find them looking out for some renovations in the washrooms. And it's a shocker that many schools only get to renovate their washrooms, or let's say students' latrines, when they realize it has become worse. So to them, that is not the main attention. Theirs is to make sure that the parents are paying school fees and also ensuring that the students are back and they are teaching them. And the worrying state is that you would wish that private entities would be exemplary. But they are amongst those that are failing at this sanitation thing. So basically, school owners, many of them, not all, but many of them are not taking sanitation seriously. But still, Jerome, what would you give as the measures that schools should take to ensure that the sanitation is heightened? Well, one is when you look at the Mpox, and then you look at the symptoms as well, and the prevention measures. All of these diseases are quite preventable, because even with COVID, however much we lost lives, we prevented a number of deaths. People worked through the various measures to ensure that the numbers do not increase. And when it comes to cases like Mpox and now the new Ebola Sudan virus, you do realize that, I don't know if you've ever got affected by chicken pox, for example, during
yes, when I was about 8.
Now, many of us through boarding school got to encounter this kind of.
Me, I wasn't even in boarding school.
You weren't even in boarding. You can imagine. Yeah. Meaning, these are things that happen. And I won't be shocked, I should say, however, I wouldn't wish this to happen, if at all schools come out and report a case or two of Mpox. Because I do believe at times some of our people tend to take these cases unserious unless it starts hitting home directly. Because you see, many of the parents, some of them were really scared, especially when these developments came in at a time when first term is resuming. Many of the parents were scared, even up to now. Parents are scared, saying, I hope that the school where my children are, or the schools where I take my children, do not report any cases of, let's say, Ebola, God forbid, or even Mpox. Because for the parents, on the side of the parents, it is hard to handle. First of all, you're looking for school fees, and at the end of the day, you hear that the school where a child is, they're having cases of such nature. Because when you even hear of an outbreak in a school, whether it's a different disease, as a parent, you'll be worried and concerned. So when you look at how we can prepare, the measures, the guidelines are very direct from the ministry.
Has the ministry given schools guidelines?
No, when the diseases really came out, especially with the Ebola virus just a week ago, the ministry, the permanent secretary, came out and revealed that we have reported a case, so we have to be vigilant. Now, the first point is you have to be vigilant.
Yes.
And vigilance starts with you and I, but on the side of students or pupils, now, for example, young ones in primary, many of them would not know that this is a sign of, let's say, Mpox, but they will clearly tell they'll rush to the teacher and say, I think I'm developing a sore or I'm getting a skin rash here and there. So how the school responds is entirely on the administration and how prepared they are in case of any outbreak. So meaning the measures that we need to first of all employ is being vigilant and also ensuring that the sanitation is on point. Because first of all, because we are not only going to be looking at Ebola and Mpox here, there are other killer diseases available.
Yes.
And besides the communicable, you realize that also malaria has also been a killer disease.
And it is
still a killer disease. So meaning you have to be very, you have to prioritize sanitation of the students or the pupils, and then also the environment. And then also during these assemblies that happen week in, week out, you need to let the children know that this is something that is happening and how they can prevent it. And in case they test any kind of symptoms affecting them, they need to be open and rush out, not only to the, to the school nurse or to the school clinic or things like that, but also be open so that the school can come up with the measure. And then also the schools, I think, Olive, the schools should be able to report these cases. There is that habit of schools keeping quiet because they think if they stay silent, because they think so it will, if they open up, it will scare off parents from taking students there.
And we saw this in COVID-19, but you see that is affecting people's children, and you cannot, have second lives. So you have to protect the life that we already have. But if you're just joining the conversation, we are trying to find solutions. How can we ensure safety of students amidst disease outbreaks? We know that the Ministry of Health has so far reported that we have the Ebola Sudan virus in the country. There have been cases reported, all connected to the index case, but also we have Mpox that has been ravaging different parts of the country. Now, we have lost about 10 people due to Mpox. Now, we don't want this to be the same situation with your child back in school. So what solutions can we have to ensure the safety of pupils and students while at school, because schools reopened yesterday? And if you can join the conversation, the number is on your screen. It is 0709 602 592. Send in your views. We'd like to hear from you. Now, Robert, when it comes to these diseases, the disease outbreaks, but also most importantly, the prevention, because we know prevention is better than cure, then the question of sensitization and awareness comes in. So my question to you is, what role does community awareness play in the prevention and, you know, getting ahead of these diseases?
Well, knowledge is power. That is the first thing. And you cannot prevent yourself from something that you do not know or know how to do the prevention itself. One, community awareness enables people to have the right information. The right information is what I want to emphasize. For example, when we talk about mpox, mpox is, one may think they have chicken pox, or one may think it's just a body rash. So are the communities aware of the signs, of the symptoms of mpox? Talk about Ebola, now Ebola Sudan virus. Are the communities aware? Because they must have the information at hand. Do they know how deadly this thing is? Not until I interacted with someone who had recovered from Entebbe treatment center, I saw the spots on the body, and this person told me how the situation that is there. Now, the communities need to have the right information. Yesterday, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health was talking about websites that are giving wrong information, how they are going to work with Uganda Communications Commission to ensure they block or ban those websites. Now, when such outbreaks happen, there is wrong information circulating. There are a lot of ideologies, myth and all that. Someone will tell you, no, there is no mpox. Government wants money. And this is what they can do to get donor aid. So you must have the right information, timely information. So this is how the community is. But also, for a long time that I've lived, I've come also to understand that sometimes force has to come in to a greater extent. For example, let's look at the schools today. You're having children of people whose parents have paid, even if it's UPE, where they have not paid or where they pay something slightly. The challenge is, why you, as the owner of this school, let's talk about these high-end schools that pay much, why don't you have a temperature gun, for example? Why aren't you putting SOPs in place? Now, enforcement, that's where it comes in. That's why when the worst was soon to happen to Uganda, we saw curfew, people were being walloped. Go home. People were being forced, you can't enter here unless you do this. So sensitization, awareness is very vital so that people have the right information. When you talk about mpox, what is mpox? How is it transferred? How can I prevent myself from getting mpox? In case there is a suspected case of a person, where do we go to? How do we handle? Because yes, someone could be, we could suspect that this person has died of Ebola. In some of our cultures, they clean the dead. They wash the dead. Now just imagine people gather for one funeral. These ones wash the dead who has died of Ebola. They go greeting the way some people in our culture cry, hugging, others grieve in that manner. In one burial, how many are going to get this sickness, this disease, this virus? Given our mourning styles and how we look after the final office we do, much as it has been done there. So, right information and also enforcement. I don't want to rule out the issue of enforcement. That certain times, you've seen people who don't want to go to hospital. During mpox, there were some clinics who knew very well that they can't handle these cases. They are complicated. But someone wants to try, instead of reporting to the ministry that we have a patient here whom we suspect this could be mpox. You try playing around treating. And when the person is really ill, then they know they can no longer handle. That's when they alert government to come and pick this person.
And on the same note, Robert, how can the Ministry of Health ensure compliance across all districts in the country?
I think the Ministry of Health has to work in tandem with other stakeholders. For example, it has to work very close with the Ministry of Education and Sports, now that schools have opened up. Very, very close. It has to work very close with local governments. Because remember, local governments have structures that if used effectively, they can go verify. It has to work very close with the enforcement, because we are going to have people who will not comply by the information given to them. And we cannot risk others for those that have failed to. We cannot risk our students, our pupils, for a school that have failed to put in place. So there you need enforcement to come and make some arrests. We are going to have clinics who will want to extort money, make that money before sending off a patient. You need enforcement. So I think it's working. You need religious leaders. Let me tell you, one of the things I've seen very instrumental is if every Friday all imams, sheikhs, their message, apart from the spiritual side of it, they talk about Ebola is live, Ebola is with us, Mpox is with us.
Just
brothers.
like they did during the HIV,
yes,
especially in the 90s. It was a conversation that took place in the mosques, in the churches, and different community gatherings.
So if our traditional leaders have seen the king of Uganda, Ssaabasajja Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi, when he has led some campaigns, the fistula, many people didn't know about fistula. So if the ministry can bring in all these critical people, celebrities, I don't know, in the developed world, I've seen so many issues that matter where celebrities come in, you know, where artists come in. Recently we had the Grammys, but the 2025, but you would see that the funds that were gotten from this were going into relief. So if we can have these figures, these artists, if they can be brought on board and they will have that as their message. We're having concerts every weekend, almost from Friday. If they could take part of this and see how do we bring this on board, because these epidemics start small, but at the end of the day, if it goes out of hand, when numbers are so many, we cannot handle.
It becomes a pandemic.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Robert. And thank you, dear viewer, for watching. So if you're just joining the conversation, we are asking the question, how can we ensure safety of students amid this disease outbreak? We have Ebola, Sudan virus on our hands, and we also have Mpox. But also, we still have other diseases that we are grappling with as a country. Among these is HIV/AIDS. It's no longer an outbreak, but some students are involving themselves in sexual acts. So are we talking to them? But then Jerome did also mention malaria. Malaria is still one big killer disease that we are grappling with as a country. A lot of effort has been put in preventing and even treating, but we still have the same. So why not make sure, for instance, for a school that, what's the word when you spray? No. When you spray, like for instance, surfaces in the environment where you have stagnant water to avoid, you know, like getting more mosquitoes in the community. I think you get the idea.
The word.
Yes, you're getting the idea, but also using treated mosquito nets for students. I know that in some schools this is not that important. A student comes without a mosquito net and it's business as usual. But Jerome, looking at all that, schools have their own challenges. In your perspective, or from the conversations you've been a part of, what are the primary challenges schools are facing when it comes to implementing safety measures during disease outbreaks?
Many of them ask for extra funding from the government, and it's something we even saw during the post-COVID era. Some schools even went out and said the reason as to why some of the public schools or the government schools are able to implement some of these policies or implement these safety measures is because they have an extra support or a helping hand from the government, forgetting it is because the government is responsible for these ones. Now for you, on the other hand, we saw even in one of the reports we had in our local news, some of the parents were asking why are these schools charging more than universities charge for just a primary pupil, or even kindergarten, or a secondary student having to pay close to $1,000 US for just a single term. But when you look at the challenges that many of these schools, put out, is the kind of, environments that many of them are working or are holding their businesses, because many of them are literally education businesses. Now, many of them have very small spaces where they operate, and some of them even side it out as an issue that they are trying to expand. They kind of find it difficult to work on the simple, simple basics. Then the cost, because some of them believe that the cost of implementing these kind of safety measures is high, and they do not want to put the burden on the parents. Remember, some of the parents will come out and ask you, with all the money you ask for school fees, do you mean you still need more? Because schools will tell you, they will add on the circular mpox treatment, or let's say mpox. All these terms of schools when they are trying to add an extra fee, or what they would call a developmental fee. This time around, they will add something very specific. It's a different fee, and then you ask
them. They don't want to touch their principal, which is the fees you give them. So now they have to get into your pockets more,
and they will manipulate you into believing that if you don't, your child will risk getting this. And this is what parents are facing, by the way, day in, day out. You'll have to look for school fees, and now you have to. So many of the schools, one of the things they side in is they do not have enough finances to run. Because when you go in schools and ask them, why aren't you having this and this facility, they will tell you the issue is some parents delay to pay or clear school fees, which is true, by the way.
But Jerome, from a parent's perspective, I also know that some schools no longer let us breathe anymore.
Very true. Now, besides that, the issue of priorities, Olive. Now, many of the private schools, why I'm siding out private schools, because we've already seen the issues with government schools. We point them out all the time. But for the private schools, they have to be very accountable, because this is people's hard-earned money.
And their children.
And their children here that you're putting at risk. The priorities that many of these schools have is education, good grades, and ensuring that they have students in school.
Wow.
Because they know the more volumes, the more money they will get. Now, the other things come in as secondary, which shouldn't be. Because first of all, as a school, your priority is to ensure that if a parent is bringing in children, their safety not only when it comes to security matters, but also health. Their health.
Health is important, of course, security as well. Now, a few comments have come through, and the first one is from Aima Shafiq Yiki from West Nile, Arua, and he says, my submission regarding the schools reopening amid this disease outbreak is that let government print out flyers and display information materials, posters, flyers and banners with Ebola prevention messages to all public places. However, sometimes the government of Uganda can come up with good measures on paper, but implementation in this country is just thrash and still lagging the problem of Uganda in every sector or any policy. That is from Aima Shafiq Yiki from West Nile, Arua. Now, the next comment is coming through from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindi Luafu, who says, good morning, the Fantastic Threes. Good morning, Derek, and it's nice to hear from you. The safety of children in schools starts with parents before it stretches to school owners. Some parents, after paying school fees, they feel all is done and don't bother how safe is their children at school. You find a parent who has never stepped a foot at the school premises and pays school fees yearly. Really? So even where school owners must be held accountable, this parent doesn't know, and unless a child complains consistently. So as a responsible parent, you must reach at the school your child is subscribing to and ensure your child is in safe hands, and where laxity is, you be vocal and hold them accountable. Trust me, even school owners will be put at a task and they will do their best, hence safety is provided. Thank you so much, Derek Gagamel. Now, Kiria Dennis in Entebbe says the doctors at Entebbe Isolation Center should be vigilant with the patients because the patients always exchange money with outsiders by buying food stuff through the fence. Remember, it's a barbed wire fence, so caution to them. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kiria. And the last comment is from Okello Fred, and he says we use words like, oh, he was talking about the word I was looking for earlier. I was talking about disinfecting surfaces. Thank you so much. Well, gentlemen, we have, our time is fast spent, but I would like to hear your parting remarks, Joram, especially regarding how schools can prepare for future outbreaks.
Well,
briefly,
I've been looking at some of the symptoms of the mpox, and some of them include low energy, headache, sore throat, fever, back pain, low energy. Some of these symptoms are open to quite a number of diseases, by the way. Now, when it comes to how they can prepare along the way, is first of all, be open to accept that an outbreak can arrive and it can affect your school. Meaning, once this happens, you have to involve the parties. Which parties are these? One, the authorities, which is the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Education, and then the parents, because this child becomes your child after the parent has left school. You're now the second parent, but the parent has to be the first concerned party. In fact, before you even call in the Ministry of Education, you'll have to first call the parent of the child or the guardian that you know what, your child is responsible or your child has been affected by this. So I think schools just need to be very open to the fact that these kind of outbreaks occur or will occur, but how we respond to them is important, meaning we have to follow the guidelines of the authorities, the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education to ensure the safety of students. But secondly, schools need to prioritize health, because it is very important for us to have a safer space for the children to grow and learn, and make sure that their sanitation is something the students also prioritize on themselves.
Thank you so much, Joram. Robert Chirabo, what are your parting remarks on how schools can better prepare or plan for future outbreaks?
We've been here before, except for mpox, which is something new. But we've been there when it comes to Ebola and a number, if we were able to make through during COVID. I think it's just taking the matter serious. What is happening today is the schools have not taken this as a threat or a reality. So all they need to do is to take the matter serious because they know what to do. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Robert, and thank you so much, dear viewer, for being part of Good Morning Uganda. Now, the show does continue as Joram Paul will be coming back shortly with business updates. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, my parting shot is that we have to all be vigilant, whether at home or at school. We have to safeguard our children. When it comes to sanitation, as a parent, it's important to always check out the pit latrines, the toilets at school. That's where the spread starts. Well, good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks, Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Coming soon on UBC.
Are you ready to take your fitness journey to the next level? Join the Sweat Squad by Sion. Coming soon to UBC TV. With expert guidance, cutting-edge workouts, and a supportive community. You'll be unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for sticking around here on Good Morning Uganda. Now time for us to check into the world of business. A conversation I've been having with Olive here is the issue to do with payment of school fees, where many mothers lately have been crying out, wondering why the men on the other side are no longer doing their role in ensuring that they pay or contribute to the school fees as our fathers used to do back then. But, well, you never know, times are changing. But besides that, we start off with UN and finance on business in a rapidly changing global economy where the business landscapes are shaped by technology and competitiveness in the world of innovation and technology. Uganda's informal sector has long remained a challenge to formal growth. But a week-long intensive business development program organized by the Ministry of Finance and the development partners has offered a glimmer of hope to hundreds of entrepreneurs, equipping them with the skills to scale their businesses, also improving management practices and transforming their mindset. Now, at least more than 100 entrepreneurs from across Uganda met in Kampala for an innovative training session under the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development's EPROTEC program. The EPROTEC program draws on behavioral science and entrepreneurship theory developed by a Harvard University professor, emphasizes the core competences shared by successful entrepreneurs globally. Now, Richard Mubiru, the lead officer for enterprise growth and development at the Ministry of Finance, noted that Uganda's informal sector, which accounts for more than 51% of the country's businesses, has long been a barrier to the country's economic modernization. Now, besides technical skills being imparted during the training, experts and trainers stressed that perhaps the most important shift was a change in mindset to see informal sector businesses formalize their ventures. Now, the EPROTEC methodology also has proven successful in countries across Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East. Now, the pilot phase will soon be assessed by the Minister of Finance, and the national rollout is expected in mid-2025. Now, also the aim is to see that these informal sector businesses get to expand their operations away from just being small scale and turn to medium scale, or even in the long term, become bigger enterprises and employing a number of Ugandans. Now, away from that, the Uganda National Bureau of Standards has issued stern warnings against the sale of adulterated fuel, citing its negative impact on machines, revenue generation, and consumer trust. Now, the warning was sounded at a stakeholder sensitization in Lira City, with the standards body committing to enhance fuel quality and also further strengthen monitoring mechanisms across the country. Now, Reverend Frank Tukwasiwe, the Commissioner for Petroleum Supply at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, revealed that the government will crack the whip on the unscrupulous businessmen once ongoing sensitization efforts conclude. Now, Tukwasiwe also highlighted that some fuel stations are operating without proper licensing, which poses risks to both consumers and the industry. Now, according to the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, the fuel marking and monitoring program is in place to ensure that all petroleum products meet the required standards. With sensitization nearing completion, UNBS and the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development are set to take tougher action against non-compliant fuel stations. The public is further urged to remain vigilant and also report any suspicious fuel quality concerns to the relevant authorities. And well, away from that, we turn our focus to the international scene and look at what the new US president has got to say in regards to the issue of the TikTok ban in the United States. Now, new information coming in shows that the US President Donald Trump has taken the first step towards setting up a sovereign wealth fund for the United States and suggested it could end up buying TikTok. Now, the president signed an executive order on Monday to kickstart the process, saying the fund would soon be one of the biggest. More than 90 countries have sovereign wealth funds investing surplus income for the benefit of future generations. However, the US currently runs a budget deficit. And Trump revealed to the reporters that we are going to create a lot of wealth for the fund. And however, he did not clarify where the money would come from. When Trump first floated the idea of sovereign wealth fund during his election campaign, he suggested it could be funded by tariffs and other intelligent things, he quoted. Now, he has already announced plans to impose tariffs on imports from America's three biggest trading partners, China, Mexico, and Canada, which have now come to a pause. But the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the fund would be set up within the next 12 months and that the plan was to monetize assets currently owned by the U.S. government for the American people. Now, Saudi Arabia and Norway have two of the world's largest sovereign wealth funds, supported by the proceeds of fossil fuels and the sales from the same. They invest in companies and projects around the world. Now, President Donald Trump previously said that a U.S. sovereign wealth fund would finance great national endeavors, including infrastructure projects such as airports, roads, as well as medical research. After signing the executive order for the fund's creation, he also floated the idea that it could buy the social media platform of owned by ByteDance, that is TikTok. Now, the Chinese-owned social media company was briefly taken offline in the U.S. Last month over national security concerns after the previous administration ordered its owner to sell it to U.S. operations or face a ban. Now, Trump has delayed the ban, promising to find a solution after TikTok's U.S. users protested at its shutdown. However, the president has also recently said that technology giant Microsoft was in discussions to acquire TikTok and that he would like to see a bidding war over the sale of the social media app. Other big names in tech, including Larry Ellison and Elon Musk, have also been floated as possible. Yes. Well, as we are summing up with business, we turn our focus on the forex market to see how the Ugandan shilling has been faring on the exchange, courtesy of the central bank. Closing time, the US dollar was buying at 3,672.64 while selling at 3,682.64. The opening time saw the US dollar buy at 3,677.23 while selling at 3,687.23. Midday, the US dollar was buying at 3,675.50 while selling at 3,685.50. The Great Britain pound closed buying at 4,513.67 while selling was 4,525.96. The euro was buying at 3,763.35 while selling at 3,773.60. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.43 while selling at 28.50. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.44 shillings while selling at 1.44 shillings. The South African rand was buying at 193.72 while selling at 194.25 Ugandan shillings. Well, that is how you will find the forex market this morning. And please do note that those updates are always coming in 3 times daily, courtesy of the central bank, the regulator of all financial institutions within the country. I'm Joram Paul Zonko, and that does it for the business update this morning on Good Morning Uganda. However, Good Morning Uganda continues. We have more discussions coming along at the top of the hour in the Good Morning Uganda agenda. Afterwards, sports, and later on, Good Morning Uganda Extra. Stick around. I'll be back tomorrow with the latest from the world of business. This is GMU.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Coming soon on UBC.
Are you ready to take your fitness journey to the next level? Join the Sweat Squad by Sion. Coming soon to UBC TV. With expert guidance, cutting-edge workouts, and a supportive community. You'll be unstoppable.
nebaza President Museveni okusingira ddala eyaleeta omwoga kubanga ffe omwoga twali tetugutegeera okubanga yatuyamba mu mbeera embi gye twalimu naddala ffe abavubi kubanga ffe twali batugaana okukola okugenda ku mazzi nga bw'omanya abavubi batugamba nti ennyanja tesenguka sente tezatumala mu covid basanga tuli bakalu bulungi ne muzeeyi n'alagira batuwe era ne tukola essaako mu sipiidi ne tuteekamu ssente ne batuteekamu ssente batuwa miliyoni 3 zatuukira mu budde ate twali bamaze okutukkiriza ffe abatunda ebyokulya okuddamu okukola ki okukola ne tuziwola abantu ne basuubula ebyennyanja ne bakola ne bazizza ne tuwa abalala nabo ne bakola ne bazizza ne tukolera ddala bulungi mu bammemba okutandikira ddala twali bammemba 125 kati ng'essente ezo miliyoni 3 tetusobola zigabira abantu mulundi gumu twagendanga tulondamu abayinamu sevingi waabwe awera nga nabano bwe bagenda bakula sevingi waabwe nga bwakula kati bwe wazzanga era nga tukuddiza akakadde ezoleese nga tuza amagoba tuwa bano abalala abaali bataafuna ne tukolera ddala bulungi ku miliyoni 3 amagoba tuli mu bukadde 10 abantu bano balabanga abamu abaana abato naye balina famire zaabwe balina abaana be balabirira balina bazadde baabwe era kati olwaleero bwe ntunuulira abasuubuzi bange balina kye beeyongeddeko kinene kati olwaleero ensawo nsanyufu abaana basoma famire zaabwe bazirabirira ne bazadde baabwe nange abakulembera ndabawo enjawulo ku bantu bange era nkubiriza abalala bammemba abalala abatannayingira bajje nabo babeere bulungi basobole okwekulaakulanya enkulaakulana ya buli muntu tetusosola tetuteekamu byabufuzi tetuteekamu kkala jangu nga bw'oli ng'ozze kkola emyoga nze ginkoze bulungi era nali sirina naye kaakati ndi bulungi sobola okusuubula ebyennyanja nenteekawo abaana ne batunda nenfuna amagoba ebyennyanja bino tuyina abakozi ba mirundi ng'ena bwe bimala okuva mu mazzi ne bituuka wano ku mmeeza tuyina gye tukubikolokotera oyo n'akolokota n'akyoza bulungi n'akikwasa ow'effumbiro weffumbiro bw'oba oyagala akabeero ne batematema ne bateekamu obummonde n'amatooke ne bakuteera ku lusiniya bw'oba oyagala kisiike era mu ffumbiro ne bakisiika ne bakireeta omwana oli afuna ssente kyembagala sente z'emyoga tezaaliisa mudaala guno gwokka omwana oli akolokota yafunangako n'ali mu ffumbiro akifumba naye n'afunako ne nannyini kifo naye n'afunako n'ow'omudaala n'afunako abo bantu ababa bayimiridde ku ssente ze tuwadde mmemba omu ziwanirira abantu bangi famire nnyingi kubanga omwana oli akolokota si mwana muto sajja mukulu alina omukazi alina n'abaana omukyala ali mu ffumbiro asiika oba omuvubuka asiika naye alina omukazi n'abaana naye bonna bali kakadde kennawoono
nze basooka kumpa miliyoni 1 and then bwe namaliza nenzirayo ne bampaayo looni endala era nayo nenkola sofa kati kyenaakafunawo nayongerako ku bizinesi yange kuba luli nalinga nkozesa $5,000 nga sinaba kujoyininga myoga ate nga n'ezimu tuzeewolaweewoza okuva mu bubiina okuva kale mu bamanelinda kati nsobola okubeera nga nkozesa miliyoni 1.5 kitegeeza neeyongerako ku nfuna yange ate n'ekitaaliwo luli sofa kati emyoga bwe jajja jakuyetingawo kalica y'okubeera nga tusevinga nga ffe bammemba ne mu bavubuka ate n'okubeera nga tukola ne tubeera nga tufuna ssente tusevinga nga bwe tukola ate nga bwe tusasula looni bw'oba nga weewola looni mu myoga n'ebirala ebyenfunyemu nga nze sofa kati natandika kukubeera nga nsasula kataka kange ekyo kirungi nnyo kyansanyusa nnyo naye nga sasula mu kibanja mpola Nsuubira omwaka ogujja nja kukamalayo. Kyekyo kye neenyumirizaamu ate nga ne muzeeyi atukubiriza nnyo okubeera nga tuseevinga. Tujja kukulaakulanya eggwanga n'ekonomi kubanga batusomesa nnyo mu myoga tubeere nga tulina saving culture eyo. Kitegeeza abantu bwe baseevinga ennyo bajja kubeera nga bafuna saving, bw'oseevinga n'ofuna ssente you invest. Kitegeeza tujja kubeera nga tufuna balocal investor tuve ku bayindi. Kijja kuba kitukoledde.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Coming soon on UBC.
Are you ready to take your fitness journey to the next level? Join the Sweat Squad by Sion. Coming soon to UBC TV. With expert guidance, cutting-edge workouts, and a supportive community. You'll be unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Neebaza Pulezidenti Museveni okusingira ddala eyaleeta omwoga kubanga ffe omwoga twali tetugutegeera okubanga yatuyamba mu mbeera embi gye twalimu.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
You're watching Good Morning Uganda. It's my pleasure to know that you're watching this program that starts every morning at 6:30 up until 9 a.m. So thank you so much. My name is Olive Monica Najoma, and right beside me is Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and on the extreme right, on the extreme left is Jerome Paul Sonko. And together, let's have a conversation regarding by-elections in the country. country, are they a litmus test to show the loopholes that are happening or taking place in different political parties in the country? Now, when you look at the by-election in Kawempe North that is about to take place, you will realize that right now, National Unity Platform Party has over 10 contenders that are trying to get the party card to represent the party as the flag bearer. But also NRM has its own flag bearer that was announced. But then when you look at the by-elections that have also happened across different districts over the years, you will notice that there are certain loopholes and if, for lack of a better word, there is some sort of rot that is exposed in different parties during by-elections. So, what are you waiting to see regarding the by-election in Kawempe North? What have you seen in the past that you think, if it is not streamlined, could actually affect the politics of Uganda as we know it? It's important to note that we will be going to the general polls next year in 2026. And the decisions we make now are decisions that will impact our political future for the next 5 years. But now for the by-election, we lost a member of parliament, Muhammad Segirinya, in Kawempe North, and now there is a vacant seat in parliament that has to be filled, but at what cost? So many questions, and I would like to hear from you, your views, your questions, and what you have noted across the years regarding our political situation, especially when it comes to the by-election. So you're welcome. Welcome aboard. Let's do this. Robert Chirabo, Nyanyintono. The by-elections in Kawempe North, what have you already observed?
Well, first I would say I want to use the by-elections in Kawempe as a case study or a sample of the so much that is happening. First, I want to believe that when we opened up political space, we didn't do so much training of Ugandans for them to understand how multi-party democracy works. Because we had spent a lot of time in what we call the movement system, based on merit. That Olive, you would stand and we vote for you as Olive Najuma, not as Olive Najuma who is from red, or who is from yellow, or who is from blue, or who is from green. Now, here we go into multi-party dispensation. We held a referendum, but I want to believe maybe we never wanted, but we want pressure. And therefore we said, Chicho, take it as it is.
When you say we, who is
as
we?
As Ugandans, because for a long time we had been in the movement system. Now, and we had talked so much evil about political parties. And why they are a danger. And
I think you should just say the majority, so that you do not generalize all of us. Some of us were never in the in the same mix.
In the same mix. So there we went into multi-party dispensation. Now we go into multi-party dispensation, where many parties are doing things the wrong way, and when you want to hold them accountable, they will tell you, we are still growing. But one time I asked a good friend of mine in one political party that, have you ever seen a house that begins on a crooked foundation and the walls stand straight and you can have a proper roofing? So many political parties are doing so many things that are wrong, or many political parties are being driven by individuals. So these structures are there. Now, I'll first begin with the national resistance movement, because I want to go into Kawempe, but when I've given a fair background. In NRM, for you to be a flag bearer, you must go through what they call a kamyufu. Some want to call it a kayero. Internal democracy. And they vote for you. Members that are in the yellow book vote for you. So you're the flag bearer of that party. Now, the yellow book also sometimes has issues. 2, this is even known by the chairman of the party. Sometimes people are bold, sometimes there's so much drama that happens.
Sometimes people are both.
Yes, the both. You find someone who, there are so many technical eliminations that happen there. Now, you end up getting a person who is not the best, because why do we have these internal elections? To ensure that your party has brought the best to tussle it out with. Talk about Chisoro. We had an NRM flag bearer, and the independent was also NRM. Now, a party choice is defeated by a person who comes as an independent because they were very sure it wasn't fair. Now, there you go. Come to NUP, National Unity Platform. They are now at a tight corner when it comes to Kawempe North. You have the former AD of Segirinya, who talks of National Unity Platform, my President Kyagulanyi, who has been there. Then there is one named the Foot Soldier, who has now gotten some of these who are released there with him.
Who is the Foot Soldier?
Just going to give you the interest, just ran out of my head. And he's so famous on ground, by the way, the Foot Soldier. Now you have the Council, Narukora. Very vibrant. He's been vocal for some time. He's been in the struggle when we saw these young boys and girls who were detained that were released recently. So there are about 3 categories of people you have. 3 candidates. Yes, the number is about 12, but there are 3. Former Segrinya's aide, that's so labeled Foot Soldier, and Council Narukora. Now, if you do not subject these people to an election where the party members in that particular area are going to say this is the best to tussle it out with NRM. And I want to remind people of Kawempe what happened when Segrinya's time to get that party ticket. Let's not forget very quickly. He had first been denied that ticket and was going to someone.
And like you have mentioned earlier, the party reserves the right to give someone a party ticket or not. I believe this is the same thing that happens in the NRM.
No, NRM, because there is voting. Much as I said, the voting also has issues. But at least there is what? An election.
So, Robert, I want you to help me understand why there will be voting in the party, then someone loses, and then they decide to go against their own party procedure, their own party decision, and contest as an independent. We've seen this happen in Kisoro, and we've seen it happen in even in
and when they come to parliament, they sign a memorandum of understanding.
Even the members of parliament that won in 2021, we have some that came as independents because their party had rejected them. Help me understand that. Why does it happen? First of all, why does the party let it happen? Because at the end of the day, people saying that the party's decision is something we need to disrespect. Does that represent a good structure in the party, or that is a loophole that we are looking at?
It is a loophole. That's why I began saying that the foundation of our political parties have an issue. That is why you find that, Monica, today, you can be in NRM. Today, we are approaching 2026. Now you look through and say, in my constituents, I think NRM is losing. Then, next month, you cross to NUP. So this girl said has been working on TV. She's been... NUP gives you a ticket. Remember Nabila Nagai Sempala? How she, at the last month, went from FDC, then dependent, then now, NUP is bringing a mayor to contest Nabila Nagai. So, the wrong foundation of political parties. We do not have cadre recruitment that is serious, cadre training, cadre identification. We lack these structures. If they are there, they are not that very active. So, our political parties do lack certain particulars that make political parties stand. That is why a party cannot come out and say, for us, if you stand as an independent, you denounce, you're chased out of the party. Because they know, You need numbers in parliament to push decisions.
Okay, thank you, Robert. And we'll come back to that point. But I would like to bring in Jerome. Jerome, the issues that Robert has raised bring me to something else that many Ugandans believe is the root cause of all the problems that we see and the rot we see in different parties. Our parties, all political parties, are centered around individuals. And because of this, there is no independence. I'll give you an example. I'll use an example of, let's say, the United States. They have the Democratic National Convention and they have the Republican National Convention, where the decisions that are made there will be the decisions that will represent the party, right? Now, let's come back to Uganda. Do you feel like because one person starts the party or a few individuals, they are now calling the shots? They will even say, Chiraba, we've given you a national party ticket, and then they can take it away from you.
I think it's going back to our forefathers of democracy in our country. On the journey or on the road to independence, we remember the most prominent political parties at the time, the Democratic Party.
And the UPC.
Whose existence now is rather worrying if you're to look at the situation at play.
And when you look at it, it was not really that individualistic.
Yes, it wasn't. But however, when you look at how it was inclined to religion.
Yes.
And then the same applied to UPC. Because with DP, most of it had Catholics. Now you look at UPC, which was having quite a number of people who belong to the Anglican faith. And then there came the Kabaka Yeka. And the timeline, Kabaka Yeka only shows you it was for people or subjects of those who believe in the king and the kingdom. Now, then those were like the three major political parties. However, UPC and DP were like the front runners of decisions in the journey. Now, what happened during that time was people decided to take posts. That the people who are DP faithfuls decided to be DP faithfuls, that even up to today, their families are known
as DP
faithfuls, regardless of what happens. And then those who belong to the UPC were also subscribing to the same. And then that is how you realize that then the first prime minister of the country decided to make a coalition with Kabaka Yeka because he realized he needed numbers. Now, forming with Kabaka Yeka, he realized he would be having the Baganda elites with him, the subjects of the kingdom, because let's face it, even during that time, the Buganda kingdom was having the majority of the people.
And it had a lot of influence.
A lot of influence. So when that happened, we streamlined how politics have to run. Now, up to today, this is how things are. If at all the political parties do not have a strong political leader, it seems to be strong. Rather, it ceases to be strong.
Just to interrupt a bit, is it the leader or leadership? By leadership, I mean a group of people, not just one person.
However, not even however, it would be that way, Olive. But the problem is the leaders did not create structures. It was the unfortunate bit that after, for example, UPC forming a coalition with Kabaka Yeka, there was no strong room for, let's say, structures that will enable other leaders come in. Because after the coup in 1971, UPC started facing issues here and there.
Yes.
People realize it's no longer as strong as it is because the president has left, meaning the political structure started failing. DP, which had stayed for long, again also started facing some bit of disorganization simply because of the president who was there for the 9 years at the time, the late Idi Amin. Now the structure started, having issues. In the long run, when the NRM came in also, you realized that it came in with its own policies. Now the policies, the main chairman, even up to today, is they're moving in the same direction with what the president has to offer. And meaning, in most cases...
Now the chairman is the president.
Obviously. Now, in most cases, if you realize with the NRM, today, even when the president lets them do what it's supposed to do, the decisions that are supposed to help the party grow, they will mess up.
And then
they turn their attention to him, meaning they're also showing him that they cannot do anything if he does not help them out.
I think the word you're looking for is incompetent.
Better word. I didn't want to use it because it is very harsh. But they've also shown him that without him, they cannot stay strong. So when you look at how the entire politics have been playing in our country, it goes back to how the politics started way back. And our forefathers failed to streamline or to clearly give us a better civic understanding of multi-party dispensation, because they created politics of enmity instead of politics of working together. Because remember, with the Kabaka Eka coalition, after everything happened, we saw what happened in 1966. That the person who had helped the other, they became sworn enemies. To the fact that Northern Uganda and Buganda as a kingdom started fighting each other, saying you led to the fleeing of our king. The other one was saying, no, this is not what happened. It is propaganda. So all of that started to play out, and now many of the political actors in Uganda realize it is now a politics of enmity, politics of competition, because I've come to realize, for example, the example used of the United States. When we were in the campaigns, former President Barack Obama was on the side of Kamala Harris's administration and campaigning
because
team.
They are from the same party.
Yes, and he used to even, speak so much against Donald Trump. But during, was it, the inauguration, even before, I think during of President Carter,
yes,
you could see them having a conversation, and people were saying, okay, now this is how democracy has to work. In Uganda, unless there is money involved, you're not going to see a political player sitting down. And I will tell you, I've seen it
a couple of times between the president and Besigye, but that's in the past.
In the past, but it was after the current Minister of Constitutional Affairs, Justice and Constitutional Affairs, was given that post, that he could comfortably sit down with the president and speak good things about him. But before that, it was war of words.
The biggest challenge Monica asked and talked about, that we did not build strong, independent institutions in our political system. Even where we have them, they are not independent. Now, we've failed to detach political parties and systems from their founders. You go to a political party and they will tell you they have a title known as principal. Now, you may decide, but is it in line with the principle? A party has a title, the chair of the party. You may decide, but are you in line with the wishes of the chairman of the political party? Now this is the dilemma we reach to when we come to issues like the by-election in Kawempe. That yes, if that particular party doesn't have an in-election method, that if you have a method, you've distanced yourself, that these people came to us, they expressed interest, our members elected, and the election process was transparent, was very true, and the choice and the voice of the people is what we listened to. Now you're leaving this to a committee of people, which committee definitely will look at the interests of the principal reality. We are told that in a certain political party, a person can be told, leave your constituency, we want to forward a royal card, you come here. Let me give you another war that is ranging that people have not looked at. Lead a city woman member of parliament. You have Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, fine, she's NRM. Now you have Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi. She's UPC, and I saw her campaign all lavish red.
Betty Amongi is UPC?
Yes.
But she's minister, so both of them are minister now. Both of them are ministers
but
now.
from different parties.
But
she's UPC and she
still sit on the same table on cabinet.
And she's
still there from different parties.
But now she transferred. I saw her during this voter update exercise, and she had a whole multitude of people. Now Jen is saying, but look, I'm NRM. But this one is saying, but I'm also NRM, UPC. And why you're seeing some yellow in my campaign is because I've proven that I can work with all people. You see,
she has a point there.
But we are having...
I'm not siding with that.
No, but it goes back to the confusion we said. You get it? The confusion we talked about.
But how is that confusion?
It's not confusion. Someone wants the position.
She is in UPC.
Yes.
And we have multi-party dispensation. She's in UPC, Jennifer Cheng is in NRM. And we say that all parties can be represented. Shouldn't we be looking at a time where a minister can be from an opposition party, where someone can be from an opposition party, but then they are given a chance to be a minister, and for us not to say because you're a minister, then you belong to the ruling party. Do we have it written somewhere that only the members from the ruling party must be ministers? Is it written anywhere?
It's not written anywhere, but when we are in a system where the winner takes it all, which is a multi-party dispensation.
You see the problem?
And now, I want to give you an example. Do you remember Honorable Nachuala Chinji? Of
eliminating others.
She crossed this side, and the party said, do you see the confusion in DP? Where people will tell you can't be a party president into this. We are not having a government of, is it called a government of national unity, where you're picking people from here and there.
Robert,
so we are in a multi-party where I want institutions, where I want serious political parties, where I want to set
Robert, you're contradicting yourself. If you're saying and fronting multi-party, it means that Ugandans should be fairly represented both at parliamentary and even in cabinet. So if there is actually I'm happy to learn that Betty Amongi is from the opposition. What does this show? It shows that as long as you have the criteria, the capability to represent your people, then you can be in cabinet. Because what you're saying is, if you, someone from a different party joining cabinet creates confusion. Jerome Paul, help me here.
No, it doesn't create confusion.
In democracy of multi-party, the winner takes it.
True, the winner takes it all. But
so
you remember the example you used of the by-election?
Yes.
That someone was defeated in the primaries and she felt she wasn't defeated. She felt like there was miscounting. And she went as an independent. She's now the new elected.
And she signed a memorandum of understanding with NRM.
To do what?
So when you reach in parliament and you're an independent in the courts, usually that provision that you sign a memorandum of understanding with your party.
Of course it was.
So you're obliged to the decisions of your party.
Okay, thank you very much.
That is understandable. But now when it comes to the situation of Lira, Robert, when we talk about the multi-party dispensation, we need to also look at the fact that people have to exercise their rights and duties as citizens. And everyone has the obligation, or they have the right to stand for any position. If we woke up today and we were told that, let's say, the Prime Minister, given any circumstance, wants to stand as a presidential candidate, of course, according to the NRM situations, they will go through the primaries. If she's defeated, she can't stand. So this is what is happening now. If the Minister of Gender wants to come in as a Member of Parliament, and the Minister of Health also wants to, the battlefield
is already the area member of Parliament.
The battlefield is always at the ballot.
There
is no confusion. Go in, rally your voters. Let's wait for what the ballot has to say. The winner, like you say, takes it all. If people vote for the Minister of Health, well and good. If the people vote for the Minister of Gender, well and good. And I think this gives us the room.
And people are not even voting ministers.
Yeah, people are voting for someone they feel. In fact, they're voting for a candidate.
Yes.
Because now you're not coming in as a Minister of Gender.
You're coming
Labor, you're not coming as the Minister of Health.
Yes.
Of course, you'll just use it as a front line of your CV, but one of the things you'll be saying is, I'm coming to represent the people of Lira, meaning you're there to represent them.
So, and Olive, may I just give you some information? Why I say that we've refused to detach. Are you aware that the President on various occasions has been called upon to intervene in this?
No, because he's in his party. If at all the chaos is in the party,
one is UPC.
He's normally
so Robert, I'm trying
but
to
still has the right to.
So my mind goes back to the problem I'm saying that we've not detached.
But where is the problem?
Where is
because
the problem?
Because the other one is UPC,
what's
and
wrong?
she wants to come in as a UPC.
Yes.
Then
where is the problem?
Unless when you're saying she wants to come in as NRM, and if she wants to come in as NRM, there are primaries. Yes. That is the order of their decision making.
No, she's not anywhere coming in as NRM.
But if she's coming in as UPC,
but you see, it goes back to people, to the way we've shaped our democracy.
No.
You know, to people believing that because when you're talking about institutions working as they should be working, things being seen as they should be in a proper democracy. Now, here we are coming in and saying the challenges we are facing today is because what ought to be is not being because of the foundations we've built.
Robert, thank you very much.
Robert,
the
it's like you don't want one of the two to stand against the other.
Robert,
I'm just giving you the reality.
Gentlemen, if I may, the reality is that things are not the way they are supposed to be. Yes. Great. Are we saying that it's okay for things to continue the same way, or it is time to change the status quo where someone from the UPC, someone from the FDC, Democratic Party, NRM can stand and contest for a post, for a, what is it called? For a seat. And when they win, they go to Parliament. And if the president sees it fit for them to serve as ministers, they serve. Don't you think it's about time we stopped thinking that if you do not belong to the national resistance movement, you cannot serve as a minister? Because remember, ministers make very big decisions for the country. So are you saying that Ugandans that do not have their political representatives not from the NRM party, that they don't deserve to be represented in cabinet? Because for me, your argument feels like the winner takes it all. If it is NRM, then NRM.
Let it be NRM.
This is
and you're being
that's my understanding.
And you see, like we said, let me tell you today, we've seen so many politicians who would have developed constituencies, who would have developed their areas and done good service to our nation. But this association, that today when we see, let me just give, if today Louis Rubongoya, the Secretary General of NUP, was given a position to serve in NRM, and they say this man has the books, he qualifies
to serve in NRM or to
serve
in cabinet?
Beg your pardon. To serve in cabinet or any position in government. Two things. He will either reject it because of the impact he's seeing. There will be a belief you have betrayed us, or you have crossed. You have done all this. I saw this during
everything you're saying we have seen, but my question here is, Jerome, let me come back to you. Isn't this the time we had mindset change from the political leaders themselves? Why is it that when someone in your party is appointed as minister, I saw when Joyce Sebogwao was elected, appointed as minister, then her party denounced her. Isn't it time for us as a country and for our political leaders across the board to have a mindset change? If you want to fight, what I know is that if you want to fight a system, you don't fight it from the outside.
You fight, yeah, true. But you see, Olive, the unfortunate bit, the unfortunate bit.
Did you hear what you just said?
No.
The
unfortunate bit, Oliver, look at the people who have crossed from the former political parties. For example, the minister, the speaker and the deputy. You know, the unfortunate bit is that even those who cross from the opposing parties and head to, let's say now, the ruling party, they will never speak good about the parties they're coming from. Now, this is where the problem is. Someone crosses over and they are welcomed. They will not front any idea from where they came from. They will just come and say, NRM, Nzuguda Amaso, Kati Indaba.
No, I didn't say that.
No, it is okay. We understand. Kati, I'm seeing, which is okay. But then, if you've crossed, we want to believe that the other person has seen that you're capable of good leadership in their party. You add something. And which has become very unfortunate on the side of the NRM is that even the people they've seen crossing over are not adding a lot of value to the party. They just come, just continue with the bandwagon of saying, yes.
But some have added value to the party, the speaker, the deputy.
Yes, they've added value, and you could see the value attached. They've either brought in other people to join. But the unfortunate bit is that
many don't.
Many don't. And like you said, we have to change our mindset because many Ugandans are bitter in politics. Our politics are full of bitterness. That if someone crosses and they've been appointed somewhere, we are going to point fingers at them. I remember when the DP president, now Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, when he crossed, the headlines were...
He was appointed
okay, he was appointed.
He's still
in fact, I've also used the wrong word. When he was appointed as minister, the terms were, he has sold... hey, I need mindset change. Someone said, he has sold the political party. There is nowhere in the statements where he said, I have sold the political party of Democratic Party to the NRM. In his statements, he has been appointed and he did not reject the appointment. In fact, when it comes to the discussions of the Democratic Party, many of the party faithful still look out for him to help them in decision making, because he's still a decision maker.
So, gentlemen, as we come to the close of our conversation, the loopholes, the weaknesses in different political parties when it comes to by-election, we have all agreed that it is because there is lack of party structures, but also the element of individualism where we look at whoever formed the party to make the final decisions, even when you've been given room to make your own decisions, to exercise your independence within your own party. So what are your last remarks? Maybe I will give you a last question so that you give me your last remarks, and I'll start with Joram. I will again ask the same thing I asked earlier. Is this the time to change our mindsets that being appointed minister when you're from another party does not require for the party you come from to suspend you or to expel you?
We need to. We really need to, by the way. We need to change our mindset from there. And I think the best way is we need to look at our opposition parties. Today we have some opposition parties where if you say anything wrong to a leader who belongs to that party, you are the one in wrong. So it's more like, it takes me back to what the son of...
If you said something wrong, why are you not the one in wrong?
Okay, if you say something wrong, but at times you have to criticize.
Okay.
If you criticize.
Criticism comes from objectivity.
Yes.
You come from a point of saying, what you're doing is not right. I'm not saying it is completely wrong, but change it. And it goes back to, I've just even remembered what Chameleon's son said at the start of, as we were getting into this year, where he said that, who said that Omukulu Tasobia? Because it is what our kind of politics looks like. We've seen so many people coming out to criticize, let's say, the president of a given party, and once the faithfuls of the party see you criticizing their leader or their president, they say, Igwe, Totwagaliza, Toyagala Chuka Chuka, Walide, words like that. Then the other one will tell you, where you're not supposed to be in our political party, you do not believe in our... But remember, you have to criticize. When you criticize a leader, it shows that this leader, whether he's in power or not, they can easily give up, because as a leader, you really need to be open to criticism. At the end of the day, it shapes you or breaks you. Because if you are a leader where people criticize you and you look out for them, you start, let's say, imprisoning them, or if I told you a leader, if you're criticized and you chase people out of your party, then it shows that you're not open to new ideas.
Where there is no room for criticism, there is no room for growth.
Yes, there is no room for growth. Meaning for you, you feel you are the God. You even God himself has seen people speaking evil about him, even from the Bible. He never forsakes them, by the way. He continues to be kind.
He loves them.
He loves them the way they are. They are his people. So I think we also need to be open to the same.
Okay, Robert, your parting remarks on whether or not we need mindset change, especially by the political leaders.
First, we must understand no one owns a political party. The moment you start a political party, it is not your party. You need to first change that mindset. It becomes a public asset to members of that political party. So we must ensure institutions will institutionalize our political parties. The structures we put in are very strong and independent. We must ensure that we detach ownership. Great people start things and see them grow and reduce their influence in them. Now, this is the challenge we are having. That's why I told you that even when we come to these by-elections, we have these issues. Because we don't have these structures, or when we have them, they are not active, or deliberately we refuse to have them in place for fear of losing control. as the beginners, as the founders of this political party. You start a political party, you give it to the people to run, to the members, to run the affairs. And there we shall have multi-party dispensation where political parties are strong, where political parties make the best choices.
All right, and we'll close the conversation with a comment from Katoma Gola Latif from Chireka. He says Uganda does not have institutional democracy. We have individuals that run their political parties according to their helms and interests. The solution to this problem is to end individual glorification in our politics and start focusing on political ideologies and strategies as a yardstick for voting leaders. And lastly, Odongkara Joseph says we need political education and the emancipation of the citizenry. Uganda's politics is a stewardship-based. The leader pulls all the strings. NRM, for example, has a secretariat, but it depends entirely on the chairman. UPC has a Congress, but it all depends on the UPC president. We need political structures at the base of our politics. Thank you so much, Joseph, and everyone else that has commented and followed the conversation. The show Good Morning Uganda continues.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Coming soon on UBC.
Are you ready to take your fitness journey to the next level? Join the Sweat Squad by Sion. Coming soon to UBC TV. With expert guidance, cutting-edge workouts, and a supportive community. You'll be unstoppable.
On Thursday, 6th February 2025, Greater Masaka region will host the 44th Tarehe Sita anniversary celebrations. Tarehe Sita commemorates the launch of the National Resistance Army's liberation struggle on 6th February 1981. The annual event is organized by the government and the Uganda People's Defense Forces UPDF. It aims to honor the spirit of community partnership and Pan-African solidarity. The anniversary will be celebrated under the theme Celebrating Pan-African Solidarity and the People's Sacrifice in Struggle for Freedom and Democracy for Socio-Economic Transformation. Join us on UBC TV Thursday 6th February as we relay the celebrations in real time. In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.